Once upon a time, there was a small village nestled between mountains and dense forests. In that village lived a young boy named Ollie. Ollie was clever and brave, loved adventures, and enjoyed exploring the forest near his home. Ollie lived with his grandmother, who told him a new story every night before bed. One story she told him was about a magical treasure hidden deep in the forest. It was said that this treasure contained a magical pearl that grants happiness and wealth to its finder. One day, Ollie decided he would search for this treasure himself. He packed his small bag, put some food and water in it, bid farewell to his grandmother, and began his journey into the forest. The forest was very large and filled with tall trees, and Ollie knew he had to be very careful. As he walked through the forest, Ollie encountered many animals, colorful birds singing beautiful songs, rabbits hopping here and there, and even deer wandering peacefully. Ollie was delighted to see all these animals, but he didn't forget his main goal. After walking for long hours, Ollie felt tired. He decided to sit under a big tree to rest. While resting, he heard a strange sound. It sounded like someone crying. Ollie quickly got up and followed the sound. He found a small river, and on its bank, there was a little dwarf crying. Ollie approached the dwarf and asked, "Why are you crying?" The dwarf replied, "I have lost my way home and can't find my way back. I live very far away and don't know how to get there." Ollie felt sorry for the dwarf and decided to help him. He said, "Don't worry, I'll help you find your way home." The dwarf handed Ollie an old map and said, "This map will lead you to my home. If you can take me back, I'll give you a precious gift." Ollie and the dwarf continued their journey through the forest, following the map. They faced many challenges along the way, rugged mountains, flowing rivers, and even sudden storms. But they didn't give up, for Ollie was determined to help the dwarf. After a grueling journey, they finally reached a large cave located on the side of a high mountain. The dwarf pointed to the cave and said, "This is my home. Thank you, Ollie, for helping me." When they entered the cave, Ollie saw wonderful things he had never seen before. There were jewels and precious stones glittering everywhere. The dwarf presented a small pearl to Ollie and said, "This is the magical pearl you seek. You have earned it." Ollie returned home happy, carrying the pearl. When he arrived, he told his grandmother everything that had happened. His grandmother was very proud of her brave grandson. From that day on, Ollie and his grandmother lived in happiness and wealth thanks to the magical pearl that brought them everything they wished for. Days and weeks passed, and Ollie, thanks to the magical pearl, became admired by all the villagers. He did not use his wealth for luxury or show, but shared it with his neighbors and friends. He helped the poor, distributed food to the needy, and always opened his home to those who needed shelter. One day, a strange man appeared in the village. He seemed wealthy and carried a magical staff. This man heard about the magical pearl that Ollie possessed and decided he would get it at any cost. He went to Ollie and said, "Ollie, I've heard about the magical pearl you possess. I am a powerful sorcerer and offer you a deal. I will give you all the treasures you want in exchange for that pearl." Ollie calmly smiled and said, "This pearl is not just a treasure to me. It is a symbol of the love and help I have given to others. No treasures can compensate for this feeling." The sorcerer became angry and said, "If you don't give me the pearl willingly, I'll take it by force." But Ollie was not afraid and told the sorcerer, "The pearl will lose its magic if obtained unlawfully. It grants happiness and wealth only to those with pure hearts and a love for goodness." The sorcerer realized that the pearl's power lay in the intentions of its holder, not in its apparent magic. He then felt ashamed of his actions and regretted attempting to steal the pearl. After deep thought, the sorcerer decided to ask Ollie for forgiveness and confess his mistakes.